Shumai, and welcome to my wild Welsh garden. Well, autumn is definitely here. There's plenty of autumn colour and the leaves are falling, the weather's getting colder, the nights are drawing in, the bird populations are changing, the summer visitors have gone and the winter visitors are on their way. There's still some insects in the garden, but not nearly as many as there were during the summer. And winter is on its way. Now, winter can be a difficult time for wildlife, but it shouldn't be. Our wildlife has been around for millions of years. It's evolved to live through our winters. And as loss of habitat is one of the main reasons for the decline in our wildlife in this country, as a wild gardener, I want to give the wildlife in my garden as many places to overwinter as I can. So in this video, I want to share with you just some of the easy ways that I think you can help wildlife through the winter. The first thing I'm going to do is to leave my flower beds and borders alone. Not just the plants that stand up nicely with attractive seed heads like this aster, well, that would stand up if I had supported it, but also the plants that fall down and rot, because these provide valuable places for invertebrates to overwinter. And invertebrates are vital for the health of our garden. They're the basis of so many ecological processes, and they provide food for so many other animals and birds. So what's unsightly to us is just what some invertebrates need to get through the winter. Some invertebrates overwinter in dry seed heads and hollow stems. Some need rotting vegetation. But sometimes, like here with this golden oregano, the plants are growing across a path and I actually can't get down it. I either get tripped up by it or I end up with very wet feet in the rain. So I'm going to prune this back. So now I have a clear path, so I'm not going to get wet feet in the rain. And I also have a small bundle of prunings. Now here I can either do what I call chop and drop, which is where I just literally drop it where I chopped it, or if there's a bit too much, I do what's called chop and chuck, where I find a strategic bush and chuck it under there. So there it is under the eucalyptus tree, providing a valuable overwintering place for wildlife this winter. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the leaves where they are, because they form a good mulch and they also provide a wonderful habitat for all sorts of invertebrates during the winter. And then the worms will come and pull them down into the soil, and by next spring most of these will have disappeared. Another thing that I've done in the garden is to make log piles and stick piles. This is a good place for invertebrates, but also for larger animals, little mice and voles and amphibians. This one is underneath the pearises. And this one I've just made, it's on the edge of the grassy area that's going to be down the side of the polytunnel. And this one is over against the wall underneath the ivy, and you can hardly see it for creeping geraniums. And along this wall behind the plum tree and the autumn raspberries, I've just piled all sorts of prunings of sticks and things. Or you can build a bug hotel, which is what I did here on some old bookshelves that we brought with us. So this has been here many years, and as you can see, there is all sorts of everything. Another thing you can do is to plant a native tree or a shrub or even a native hedge. Now in this hedge at the end of my garden, I have some hawthorn, and this one I'm going to let grow into a tree. Now you can see how tall it is. That went in 5 years ago. And I did cut it down because at one time I thought I would keep it all neat and tidy. And then I decided I would let it go wild. And also in here there is a dog rose which has had a really good year and produced lots of rose hips for the birds. Now the hawthorn hasn't produced many flowers or much fruit yet, but once it gets going it will be covered in blossom in the spring and covered in little red berries in the winter, which will be food for the birds. And here there's a Guelder rose and another native hawthorn. Now autumn and winter are the time for planting trees and shrubs and hedges. You can buy bare root stock. If it's for a hedge, it's a tiny little thing, 9 inches tall, but they soon grow. But you can also buy bare root trees, quite large ones, and then you get the impact much quicker. Now the other really easy thing you can do is, if you have some grass, leave some of it long. Now this is my wild grassy area, which as you can see is totally bare. I've just sown it with native grass seed. But this is what I hope it's going to look like next year. Now I do appreciate that for a lot of people what I'm intending to do in my garden is just too messy. And to be honest, in the olden days it would have been for me too. In fact, really only a couple of years ago. And it still is, to be honest. I still have the urge to do what I've always done, which is to tidy up, ready for the winter. But I think wild gardening is about a change in attitude. And it's about looking at a messy pile of sticks and foliage, not seeing it as a messy pile of sticks and foliage, but as a valuable place for creatures to spend the winter. So if I'm going to be a wild gardener and I'm going to be comfortable in that role, I think I'm going to have to embrace mess, because I'm coming round to thinking that neat and tidy is actually the enemy of wildlife. Now I do hope you've enjoyed your visit to my wild Welsh garden. Thanks for watching the video. I do hope you'll come again. If you'd like to come again, then do subscribe to the channel and like the video.